We are building a Märklin layout from scratch, and in this case with this construction site train pack. Let's take a look now at what's all inside and how to set the whole thing up. And then we watch many videos on how to build a really big, beautiful, dreamlike fantasy layout from that. So, I'll quickly take out the starter pack so you can see what's in there, because it actually contains everything you need to start with Märklin. So, first and foremost, let's carefully unpack everything we have here. So, we'll make that nice again, put it in the back. Then we can look at the photo to see what should be included. So what do we have here with us? Let's take a look inside. We have the instruction manual once, and behind the instruction manual there are already many tracks hidden. So, round tracks, along with a few turnouts, are even included here, and once again, additional round tracks. Then we have a connecting track included here, which I will say more about in a moment. A buffer stop is included here, and the power supply below, with which we can power the whole thing. A small-sized Volvo excavator, and various little carts are also included. And I would say, let's just get started, shall we, and see how we can effectively put all of this together. I'll just start with the tracks, because then you can already take a little look at how the whole thing will look here on a large scale on the facility. Or rather, stay here with me on this board. And then we can also take a closer look at how these tracks are meticulously put together, how this track geometry operates just a little bit. So, which tracks to combine with which, and how to put the whole thing into operation effectively. So I'm just going to put everything on the table here. This is indeed that detailed control stick I had mentioned just a bit earlier. And we'll unpack that one too. Then we have two batteries here. And here we have a power supply included as well, for your convenience. Here's another buffer stop. And I think I'll show the whole thing from above, then you can see better what's already in there. So here we have round tracks, a control stick, another round track, a few straight tracks, a connecting track, and a turnout is also included. Here the transformer, or rather not transformer, one would have said in the past. Yes, this is the model train control here with a stick on the side, and then you can drive forwards or backwards with it later. Then we have the first little cart here. I'll just carefully put this particular cart over here to the side for now. Then we have a second little cart. Interestingly, there is even something in there, a bit of cargo in there, perhaps a bit of grain or sand or whatever it might be. And then at the construction site it is naturally, then accordingly, sand or gravel. Then we have yet another small-sized trolley right here, and then indeed the excavator must not be missing at all. We'll carefully place that right there. And then over here there's our charming little railworks locomotive, just waiting. So that's what it looks like. And if we take a closer look at them, then you can distinctly see a very classic Märklin underneath, equipped with a skid. That means the electricity will be drawn from the rail here later on. That means it will be set up here like this. And when the grinder is connected to the track then, the locomotive gains power. And this is a system here. That's what they call these point contacts. That's how the locomotive gets its juice. And if there is a bit of dirt on it, like for example some styrofoam here, you have to be careful to always keep it clean, so that the locomotive always has electricity and can quickly make its rounds. Let's unpack this. What's inside? A little bag. What else? Something to nibble on? Sewing? There are still, indeed, a few more possibilities to explore. Oops, exhibition signs are present. Alongside them, small barriers, which we can also thoughtfully position here on the side once again, ensuring they complement the space effectively without compromising their visibility or purpose. So, the inclined model railroaders say, yes, that's not quite right in terms of gauge, but that's the beauty of it. It's also for the children to get started. So we have different sizes, because you can still handle it very well with your fingers. And otherwise, we are also actively moving around here in size H0, so, indeed, with the little figures. And then there is also a whole lot of construction site accessories. I can quickly ask in the props department if we can still see a bit more of the construction site accessories, what else there is then. Then, for example, you can actually also acquire some construction site accessories from other manufacturers, like these barriers here. They are then immediately in the right size. So, now let's just build this. And I'll just put this back here to the side so we have a bit of space. And I'll take something like that right away, namely a small re-railing device. Then you help each other a bit to get the locomotive and the little wagons onto the track. Then we can promptly unpack that. So what exactly do we start with? I would say, let's begin with the tracks. This is, without a doubt, the most significant track we have here. This is our so-called siding. This particular track, which you are seeing here, has an infrared receiver located right here, and additionally, 2 sockets or 2 jacks at the back end. Once here for the electricity, and this here can be used later for control panels. If you want to control signals and turnouts, for example, then it is also connected to this track right here. So, that's precisely why we should lay this track where we have our electricity source near our outlet, and next, let's unpack the power supply right away. So, essentially, a completely normal power supply for the socket, isn't it? Open up here once, if you will. So, and then it just plugs into an outlet. Network. So now we can effortlessly plug this in right here. On the side, I'll demonstrate that. Just insert the power supply here, and then we theoretically already have power. If it's blinking green, juice is on it. We can continue building. Actually, there's good space on the side. So, let's proceed to put that over there, and now we can clearly observe what kind of circular tracks we have here. So here, for instance, we have a radius 1 curve, and you can effortlessly click 2 such rails together. Since it should also go quite well for the children, I'll show on the back how this is put together here. Then you see here, this is the so-called C track from Märklin. And it is indeed very, very stretchable and forgives quite a lot. And this is simply put together just like this. You can also see that at the front. And then it just forms a rail circle right away. Yes, so a few pieces of track put together now form a circle. We'll just make a circle out of it. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is what it was. I invite you all to count along with me. This is the 5th track. And then we will proceed to platform 6. The 7th track on the album, followed by the 8th track, each offering its unique melody and rhythm, continues to enchant the listener. So 9, and then another 10. And then 11. And then I miscounted or not. Well, let's see. And why doesn't it work now exactly? What precisely did I do wrong? It simply does not go together, does it? So take a look. One could bend it a bit, but it doesn't fit right. I wanted to do it wrong on purpose. You see, at the back on such a track, you see a few numbers on it. I'll show that to the other camera. Then, you can quite clearly see here, it explicitly states R1 on it. And then, it precisely mentions 30 degrees on it. In fact, there is also a 2nd track included here. This is the turnout here. And then, theoretically, you can attach that to it so that you come out straight again. And that wouldn't be quite right either, because here, we actually need a soft, compensating piece that goes a bit more inside. And I accidentally installed that somewhere down here. That's why we're going to check again where I put it. We just have to find this piece now. And here it is already. I have already found it too. It's in here on the side. It actually says something different on it. Look over here. It actually says 24 degrees R2 on it now. And this is now, for example, quite a little piece that you could indeed put here on the turnout. And then this track also comes back parallel here. So this is a parallel piece that we need here. That can be made shorter later. Then there's a shorter track. And we need that later for the turnout. And now we have to look at the one above again in the ceiling camera. Then you will see it will work too. Now we have a nice round circle, put together meticulously. And now it all makes a tremendous amount of sense, because now our train can also travel seamlessly in a perfectly nice circle. So that would actually be all the witchcraft we need. Now we have only one challenge. Our siding is actually straight. And now let's take a look at the other tracks. Look, this is a bit shorter. This is also a bit shorter. That is also shorter. And that is also shorter. But I just had such a long one here also. Take a closer look over here, please. It's just as long, isn't it? And this particularly long track, we can simply take it now and carefully stick it right here in the middle. Just like this. So. And then we have our oval, do we not? So. We're going to carefully knock this over here now. Then, move the train briefly to the middle, so it doesn't break when we carefully open it. But indeed, it lasts a bit. So, and now, we've already got our post right here, and I still have just a little more space available. Should I come here again? Look, I can make it a bit longer. I've still got a bit of space on the table. Let's make it a tad longer, shall we? Then, the train can also zoom a bit further. So, and then it continues right here. Oh, I even have such a turnout here. Then I could actually also just go ahead and I'm now putting this in here really quite small. So now I'm doing it without a turnout. Let's start with something simple. We can still expand on what we observe here. So, that was indeed a short one. Then a short one really has to go back there too, doesn't it? Okay, and then, interestingly enough, the narrative continues right here without losing its momentum. So more or less we are already done. Now we can derail our train. We can start with the wagons. Number 1, number 2, and number 3.
Nummer 2 und Nummer 3.
And now, we can proceed to do this very carefully once again, with the locomotive situated right here. Could you please very carefully place that item down here, ensuring it's handled with great care? Hop, he said, and did it wrong. But there, the children can practice their motor skills right away. So, the train is derailed. We can basically get started now. I have a buffer stop left over, and also a turnout left over. And here's something else. That's going to be a nice siding right away for our construction site. Great. Of course, we can certainly do a bit of preliminary work here, with a buffer on the side, and then the turnout here. Then we can see if we still... Yes, it's going to be a bit tight inside, but maybe we can get it out and straight away. So, now we still need our power control stick. To prevent the batteries from falling out, you can fix them with a screwdriver. I'll briefly open it at the back. There is actually a small screwdriver compartment in there. I'll just open this up quickly so the batteries don't fall out. And then this screw here comes out briefly once. So, and then the small batteries are carefully inserted right in here, precisely like this. It's actually still all recently packaged here, isn't it? Well... And of course there are some included. You can of course also take the rechargeable journey. And these are now the 8AA, so are these the 3XA batteries? So please come in here, and then in there. Now we can simply just screw it back on here. Then it is carefully tidied up. And then they certainly don't fall out either. So, and now we can already observe the first thing, namely, back there you can see, there is a slider for 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Can you recognize that? I'll pull it closer. Now you should see it. I can move as many locomotives as I want with it. I control the first locomotive, and if I control the second locomotive, I control a third locomotive, or I control a fourth locomotive. This comparatively compact control stick is ingeniously designed to control up to 4 locomotives simultaneously. So now comes the pivotal moment of truth, to see if I've successfully connected the first one correctly by driving here. Now I've taken the wrong one. Let's see how I was set up. The second. Yay, indeed, this is it. So, it was initially set to the number 2. And now, our remarkable locomotive can already make its rounds smoothly. And now, I can confidently move ahead again. Then, she will decide to navigate just a little bit faster. And if I gently push the stick forward one more time, it goes even faster. And once again, moving forward, then we find ourselves even faster. Yippee! So, and that was already the top speed. So, actually, there are 4 gears here with this control stick. And then you can already take a few laps there. So, let's stop everything for a moment. By driving slower, progressively slower, and then even more gradually slower, take a very, very slow lap into the station, ensuring the utmost care and precision. So, can we plan now already? So here, I could easily imagine such an unfinished house now, or maybe a construction site here. Then we can do everything. Let's stop for a moment, and I can also stop it very quickly by simply pressing the direction change here on the bottom side, or pressing stop here, then it will also be stopped. And if I make the change of direction now, then the train will also go backwards again immediately. Now, I can press for a change of direction once again, and then, remarkably, it moves forward again, our delightful little locomotive. So, drive faster, drive even faster, and so on and so forth. So, let's stop here at the station for a moment. Because our compact Volvo here can indeed also come along, so fits perfectly well. And then, intriguingly, it goes in the opposite direction. Front, indeed. Go on. So, and faster goes the journey. And now I'll let them just stop here in the curve for a bit, because I still have a few tracks left. So here I have another soft one. And this turnout, look, it's the same length. From above you can see quite well. It's just as wide as our connecting track. And I discovered another track, just as lengthy, located somewhere else, namely back here. That was indeed as long as our siding. And now I'm going to do the following. I'll take this out of here, on the side, and first puts it completely opposite my connecting track here in front. So, that was the short part now. I'll actually demonstrate that again. So this is indeed a bit shorter than... No, it's just as long. Then I did it wrong. That's where I wanted to put the turnout. It is then just as long as the siding. Exactly. Here you see this. So this is just as long as here, and then also just as long as the turnout. And now we can insert this round track here at the front. Actually, that's just a radius of 2 now. So interestingly, it was a balancing track here for such a significant turnout curve. R2, they indeed call it precisely 24 degrees. And indeed, we can do that now, on the track up there. And then we must stretch thoroughly. Indeed, we have a somewhat short track ahead. Look, this is a bit shorter than the turnout, and if you put this back in front here, then you come out parallel again here. For example, one could now also make a parallel track out of this. Then it will continue here. So, now it's a bit short here indeed. Now I'm pushing the whole thing back a bit with my train. Now I have this mat lying here, but that doesn't matter. It still drives over it well. So, and now I'm going to meticulously pull this out again. And if you can possibly conceive of something even better right now, do I want to consider inserting a longer track in here once more? Now I just need 3 equally long tracks. So, this particular one is a bit longer, whereas this has been slightly shorter. So, well, that would be, how long is this here? This is also a shorter one, so I have to think about it. That was indeed a longer one. So we have to go out again with the short one, so that it remains parallel here. And now we hypothetically have one here. Once again, this is here then, for a second time this is here, and for a third time, this is precisely here. Now it should actually work, indeed. So, 3 short tracks have been taken, as expected. Then, we can put this back together again. And then, we have this track here as well, indeed. So, and so our train doesn't run off the track now, it gets a buffer stop there. That's where the buffer stop goes. Then we say, this is where it ends, please. It's a construction site. Here on the side, we'll set the construction site. Decorate a bit. Attention. Construction is happening here. Please note there are track construction works here. Stop. There's no way forward here. Here is everything. Under construction, another small construction hut. Oh, I have such a small one here. Look, there's also something like this. You can even remotely control it with a compact remote control. It is then the size that one can also represent effectively. So, it already looks a bit like a construction site here. We need to see how our turnout is set, how it's positioned up here. You can actually see it quite well in the upper camera right now. That is now perfectly straight, and now I can theoretically move it here to the other one without any issues. See now? Let's let our train roll into the siding very, very slowly. Push, 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 push. He drives in here very slowly. And is indeed nearly a bit lengthy. So actually, a second one simply cannot circumvent it at all. Never mind, let's head out again. Oh. Now, we can safely adjust the turnout once more, and then our train can smoothly depart again. So, let's drive back then. Yes, and now there's a whole lot more that can be done. So now we could theoretically consider, how could this facility become a large facility? What could we build here? So first of all, we could make the whole circle or the oval a bit bigger here with an additional track pack so that the whole train has space in the construction area here in front on the siding. Or we could consider whether we might set the turnouts here as cattle turnouts on the side, so the train can continue on 2 tracks here, for example. Or we could consider somehow making an 8 out of it, then the train goes up a bit, then maybe we'll put something underneath so that the track has to go up here as well, and that you have a bit of a mountain profile here. What do we place underneath, and at what height so the train can run here? I'll test it to see if it works. I do believe yes, she will certainly manage that. Could you possibly put some small stones underneath, or maybe something else along with it? And then we'll simply take the train up the small hill here and see if it can make it. But she should do magnificently. So there must indeed be something beneath then. Whoosh! And up we ascend. And down she goes again. This time, she has to build her obstacle course a bit here, carefully. So, I would say, we indeed have quite a lot planned for the upcoming episodes on this YouTube channel, because now we can start from the starter pack and can build a large construction site. We can simulate rice cultivation work. We could consider whether to place a second old historic steam locomotive somewhere. In fact, there is a second starter pack or many other expansion sets from Märklin with which one can then continue building here with their Märklin layout. And I look forward to that with you in the upcoming episodes. So now we're embarking on a delightful little drive. Forward and full throttle, if you would be so kind.